All right, welcome back. Guests here in the studio weighing in on the, advantages or if there are any hidden disadvantages as well as of this big trip right now. A lot of pressure on the Vijay Rupani government to make sure that it lives up to the Donald Trump expectation, which keeps increasing by every passing day. I'm hoping he doesn't get out and say, where are the 10 million people Modi promised him? But, Dr. Sriram Sundar Shaulya, just how important is the fact that Donald Trump, who admittedly doesn't like to travel, long distances, he's said that many times to the media in the United States, is coming on a trip, a standalone trip to India, not going to Pakistan or any other country, where in Pakistan he's is playing a very major role in the peace deal between America and the Taliban in Afghanistan as well.
Well, Ankit, Trump did mention before taking off that the India trip was a long time in the making and he has been meaning to come. So we had apparently invited him for Republic Day. It didn't happen, but finally he's here. And surely he has calculated that it will, generate dividends for him in domestic politics, as we've been mentioning. Trump is a very domestic political animal. It doesn't have a big, penchant for foreign policy at all. So the fact that he's coming, he's looking for, and he's also very personal in his politics, as we know. It's all centered around him. His, his coterie and, glorifying himself, in a larger-than-life manner. So I think he got the bait for him is today, Motera and the road show in Ahmedabad, because that's going to really burnish his, credentials and image. He's going to talk back about this in rallies back home when he returns, and of course to the Indian American community, saying, look, millions of people welcome me, and that's how much I'm loved and admired around the world. So I think he's going to milk this for his to his maximum, to the hilt. And secondly, of course, he has been briefed by his officials, and as you spoke to Geeta earlier, there is a substantive element, and he has his own agenda. Number one being trade. He's a neo-mercantilist. He wants to extract more and more concessions from all trading partners. So he's, like a businessman, he has a brief. One is, of course, making the most of the limelight today, basking in the world news as some kind of a, like a superhuman figure, like the Bahubali that he recently tweeted. So he wants to be seen as something like that, as a kind of a Superman. And then secondly, of course, he is coming, and he will need to sit down tomorrow. We're going to have talks, and we look at defense, trade, energy, nuclear, Indo-Pacific and geopolitical coordination. Ankit, I am less confident about Trump, because Trump is a transactionalist.
We'll talk more about the specifics of what could be the benefits of the trade deal and what is happening, what is not in terms of this visit. But Pratik Prem, both the Prime Minister and Donald Trump, both of them call each other, they are good friends, their camaraderie is very well spoken of. The fact remains that both of them have few similarities. Both of these leaders like to project them larger than life. Donald Trump expecting that this is only going to enhance his image back in the United States as well. How does he personally, gain from this visit, and what is it in store for Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Ankit, I think if you look at it in addition to what you said, both have positioned themselves as very strong and energetic leaders, and they both have a very huge backing in their domestic audience. So what both of this, and that is an advantage that both of them have, because they are the power centers. They don't depend on somebody else to take a decision. But at the same time, it is also important to understand that both have the compulsion of creating jobs within their own country. And that's the reason why Trump might be very much interested to have a trade deal, so that more jobs are created in the United States and the trade and the export happens to India. For Prime Minister Modi, not happening of the trade deal also is an advantage for the Prime Minister to show that, look, I have put my foot down and made sure that my domestic interest in terms of protecting the interest of the small dairy farmers or the poultry farmers or the small traders who have been to a great extent affected by the e-commerce, I have protected them. Trump wanted, as part of the trade deal, that the restrictions that are there on the prices of medical devices and some critical drugs be lifted. For example, a drug-eluting stent now costs less than 30,000. It used to cost 1,50,000. That is very important for Prime Minister Modi, for Ayushman Bharat, to reduce the prices of these medical devices.
So I think give me a second. Let me also get an Ambassador Soni on this. Ambassador Soni, just for the benefit of our viewers, just explain to them how important is the Indian-American community in United States in terms of votes. I mean, there are significant pockets where they can influence the outcome of the results in the US election. And also the fact that largely before Donald Trump and this bromance between Donald Trump and Narendra Modi, that Indian-American community was seen aligned towards, in fact, the Democrats. Does this help him completely shift that vote?
See, there are 4 million Indians, or what is called the Diaspora Indian, and another 1 million of the NRIs. They are a very effective, very responsible, but more importantly, they have all the paraphernalia to help. What happened in the last election, the Democrats got all the support from them, and Donald Trump, even though he won, he didn't have that kind of a support. But he has changed that now. In the election year, therefore, he wants to come back to them. He had done that in the Howdy Modi, that was the beginning. But right now, it's the beginning of the campaign for the next election. So he would need Indian support in terms of financing, because this is the time when all financing will be done by various segments of the American society. But more importantly, to rethink in terms of supporting Trump's candidature.
Yes.
Because of his proximity with Modi and the kind of things which they share together.
Yeah. Dr. Cholia, is it somewhere also now evident, also a commentary on the rising status of how much, even if it is not significantly, but India can have some sort of an influence as far as the elections in the United States is concerned? That makes it a very big leverage, going ahead.
Well, our Prime Minister has been saying that, Ankit, that our strengths are the 3 Ds: democracy, demography, and demand, right? So the fact that we have such a large diaspora, up to 30 million worldwide, and 4 million in the United States alone, and surely, that means that it is a leverage point for us. I mean, for nearly 20 years, Ankit, this relationship that has come this far, and Trump is coming today on the backs of this relationship that's been painstakingly built up. The Indian-American community was very, very central, pivotal. Yeah. They are the most organized of our diaspora groups worldwide, and that is the model that we are trying to now replicate across the world through Overseas Friends of BJP and through the official ministry channels.
Yeah.
So the diaspora is central, critical. It binds the 2 countries together. For an average American, they have Indians who are professors, students, doctors, engineers, techies. So they're looking at Indians as a very modern and an outgoing community that actually integrates well into the US,
right,
but also is connected culturally back home, does not try to bring its values and create a ghettoization in the US,
okay,
and is therefore accepted. So I think from that point of view, as a lobby, also as a bridge between the 2 societies, the diaspora is very central. And by the way, Ankit, I have learned that today, Motera, there are going to be lots of Gujarati NRIs and overseas citizens, OCIs,
right,
who've come all the way from the US simply to participate in the rally. So just look at the bridge and how it is being expanded as a result of this event.
I just want to put out right in the middle of our studio a very exciting graphic that gives you a sense of one of the most talked about feature, another talked about feature of Donald Trump's visit. That is his armored vehicle called the Beast, in which he will be traveling. So this is the limousine in which Donald Trump is traveling. It has already arrived in the country. A completely state-of-the-art, machine for the President of United States. And this is going to roll down on the streets of Ahmedabad and later in Agra as well. Sahil, are people excited about this aspect as well? I've seen a lot of chat on Twitter, people trying to catch a glimpse of this vehicle, a state-of-the-art, car there, and the love for fancy cars in Ahmedabad, in Gujarat, is known to all.
Absolutely. In fact, if you come to Ahmedabad today or since last couple of days, you cannot miss a picture of Trump or a poster of Trump along with Modi. So everyone is talking about it. Everyone already know in Ahmedabad what is the itinerary of Donald Trump's visit here, who is going to be with him, and how many people are going to be there at the Motera Stadium. So obviously it's talk of the town, and Ahmedabad being a small city, of course they are now used to welcoming the head of the state. So that this is the fourth visit which I have been mentioning since morning. But most importantly, it's very interesting. You know, after just 2 days, Ahmedabad will be celebrating its 609th birthday. So this city, which was formed 609 years ago, will be celebrating its birthday just 2 days after the visit. So, you know, it's kind of a grand celebration. I'm sure that Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, which is likely to have spent around 80 crore rupees, 80 to 100 crore rupees for smoothing of the roads, for cleaning processes, all these holdings and various other preparations. I'm sure it's kind of a birthday gift for the Ahmedabad city. But most importantly, I tried to speak to some people to understand what will be the takeaway from this particular visit.
Yes.
I'm sure that I can't expect this from the layman, that what exactly they will, what to expect from this visit. But one thing for sure, for everyone who aspires to go to US, thinks that this visit is going to strengthen the US-India ties. Everyone knows that this is the standalone visit by Donald Trump, and for the first time, Donald Trump is taking such kind of standalone visit to a country like India.
Sahil, I'm hoping that people in Ahmedabad are not getting their hopes high that Donald Trump is coming with a lot of visas for them.
No, the first expectation is always the H-1B visa. That is the point of contention for a lot of Indians.
Right.
But of course, they have their roots. They have their roots already placed. What we saw during Howdy Modi in Texas.
Absolutely.
We already know that how many Gujarati community people are there already in US.
And
so
quite an influential Gujarati diaspora in the United States. Geeta, just for the benefit of our viewers, what are the possible sticking points as well? We've seen, that Donald Trump on various occasions made that offer of mediating on Kashmir. The State Department has made some comments about the abrogation of Article 370 and also on the CAA. Is that something that he's going to completely avoid? I mean, that would be almost a red flag going up as far as the Indian diplomats are concerned.
It is a red flag that will be flagged. We have confirmation from a very senior White House official saying that during the restricted dialogue between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Trump, he is going to raise the issue of CAA. Particularly Kashmir was not asked, but when asked about discriminatory legislations and the fact that whether if India is staying true to the constitution of secularism and respect for all religions, Trump is going to raise that issue, not so much because he really cares, but more so because, Ankit, there have been many lawmakers, not just from the Democrat side, but also Republican senators and congressmen who have written to him asking him to take up the matter.
And Pratik, what would be the response? I mean, how is India going to respond if a query like this, which makes the Indian establishment, and especially the current establishment, anything about Kashmir, makes them extremely, extremely nervous, makes them jittery? What is the likely response from the government of India?
Ankit, I think what the government of India has been doing since the abrogation of Article 370 or even the Balakot strike, if we take that into account, there has been a lot of diplomatic engagements happening with a lot of countries across the world, wherein they have been telling them what are the reasons for which each of things has all these have been done.
Yes.
So even when these indoor meetings happen and issues are raised, I'm sure the government of India has also prepared its own brief in terms of what should be told to the American president in terms of what are the reasons and why it is not discriminatory as per government of India. So I think they're pretty ready for that. And so far as the energy and defense aspect is concerned, I think President Trump also will make sure that he doesn't say anything which actually looks very politically incorrect publicly, and then whatever benefit the Americans are expecting in terms of trade deals in the future or defense deals can have get any kind of negative impact. So I think within the closed door, whatever discussions happen, I think they are free to discuss, and I think the brief is also ready in terms of what the response would be.
Ambassador Soni, there is also a sense in few experts that India may be feeling a little bit of pressure when it comes to the defense deal, possibly going out and buying a few things that largely there is still a lot of discussion going on whether we should be taking to various systems like the air defense system that we are recently procuring from Russia, and again going in for another deal with the United States. How will they communicate with each other, the technical aspect, and so on and so forth. Do you also see that there is some sort of a pressure when it comes to certain defense deals between United States and India?
There may be some pressure, but to my mind, we are diversifying, because in the past, we were all in the Russian camp. But now, there is a demand for modernization, because what we were getting from Russia were not state of the art. And we are moving on, and we have to keep up with what is happening around the world, and how are we going to face the challenge. So this is an important segment of our defense alliance, and the import of those items would also make our armed forces and defense forces to that extent be able to face the challenges. But to my mind, we should expect certain things, but we should not go all out for expectation.
Dr. Chaulia, very quickly, just apart from defense, the trade deal, Donald Trump between India and United States has been lingering on for a long time. There have been few sticky points, whether it comes to, the tariff rates. Donald Trump has been saying that India has been hitting us very hard. Although he clarified a limited trade deal, possibly at this point of time, only after he is re-elected, there could be a larger trade deal. What is it that India can leverage when it comes to trade with United States? What are the things that we can, in fact, be asking for from United States at this point of time?
Well, Ankit, we know first thing, Trump is going for re-election, and he wants to show more and more victories to the white working classes who have been voting for him. So a trade and is seeming to score wins over all allies and partners is his #1 political agenda, apart from anti-immigration. So I think for him, he is looking to brag, that, I finally forced the Indians and forced them to fall in line. Therefore, he's putting up a very stubborn and tough kind of a face. And we were actually quite hopeful until recently that the deal will be signed. But now that's fading away. That's because they have moved the goalposts. The Americans have brought in new issues, genetically modified food, and they're asking us to buy turkeys, which are not even consumed in our country. So there is an issue here, and they have also tried to bring in e-commerce and data localization issues, which are not part of goods trade. But overall, I think it's part of their hawkish approach. And what we have done is we have tried to accommodate them here and there, because the overall trade volume is big. 150 billion US dollars, and we need to preserve that. And we have, we are willing to consider some opening up of some part of the dairy products and such things. But end of the day, agriculture is highly sensitive for us. A healthcare system is highly sensitive to us. And Trump's basic problem, and there is a conflict of interest here, Ankit, we are trying to overcome it. The basic problem is Trump does not recognize a special treatment for developing countries like us, We are saying you cannot be on the same level playing field. You have to give us some concessions. So eventually, I will hope that we will wear him down. As he gets closer to election, he will want a deal to show to his voters, and that's when we can strike the iron when it's hot.
That is possibly in a few months from now. And, though Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi would want the entire focus of this trip to be upon themselves, but one Trump is going to be unmissable in this trip, and that is the First Lady Melania Trump. So fashion diplomacy has been, it's been talking about, and it's already started. Melania Trump definitely turned heads on Sunday when she stepped out in a gorgeous pair of black and white pants and a jacket for her maiden trip to India. Her pants are Rachel Roy, an American designer whose father was born in India. Interestingly, the former First Lady Michelle Obama also wore the same fashion designer on her first trip to India in 2010. What First Lady Melania Trump wears on her husband's first foreign trip has often been raised, discussed, criticized as well. Melania chose to forego the mandatory hijab during her state visit to Saudi Arabia in 2017, and even wore a Ralph Lauren knee-length safari dress during her visit to families stranded at United States-Mexico border. She wore a Zara jacket with a message, "I really don't care, do you?" For the Trump's state visit to United Kingdom in June 2019, Melania chose prints seemingly shunned British heritage. But controversies aside, everyone's talking about Melania and her stepdaughter Ivanka Trump. What are they going to wear is a talking point not only in the fashion circles, but a lot of people in our newsroom also very interested about that. Ivanka Trump, in fact, during her visit in 2017 to India, made heads turn wearing outfits highly inspired by Indian prints, embroideries and local cuts. All right, so all you fashion police out there, watch out. In just about 2 hours, we'll know what Melania Trump is stepping out of that Air Force One wearing, and then we can have a chat about that as well.